Okay, we're live. How's your audio?
Loud and clear,
Let's
Senor Moncrief.
let's do a countdown. 1 minute. Here we go. Okay, well, I still haven't changed our little intro video yet, but eventually I'll get around to that. Hello, Duke.
Hello, Mr. Moncrief. How are you tonight?
Not too bad, not too bad. Let's see. You know, I've still got that bug zapper screen on you, don't I? Somehow I keep changing that. Let's change your background a little bit. How about
I'm
that?
okay with the bug zapper. I know my role in life.
You know your station in life.
That's right. That's right. Look here. I got the Roach Motel secured down in North Bossier. Okay.
Exactly. All right. So what do we have on tap? Let me adjust my volume on my phone here because I'm kind of monitoring our video. What do we have on tap to talk about tonight?
I thought that a good little conversation to have, and just generally taxes and government. We hearing a lot about in the news today about government of the people, and folks are all uptight about what they see going on nationally. We got folks uptight here locally, and we're going to have folks really uptight when they got to start paying more for their sewer, more for their gas. I mean, but we got them conservative leaders out there going to take care of us and watch out for us. They got our back, right?
Oh yeah, sure they do. You know, this is going to be the funny test of this is we have a pretty much Republican legislature now in Baton Rouge, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that they're already putting out the feelers, already warming up the sauce for the gas tax increase. Have you noticed that?
Have I noticed it? Woo, boy, I telegraphed it. Me and you talked about it even before some little races here locally.
Yes, that's going to be interesting. Okay, what else are we got? So we got the normal government stuff, which is just, you know, raise your taxes and, you know, the famous quote from Ronald Reagan, you know, hi, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help, which we all know is not true. The most dangerous
Yeah,
words there are.
I was farting around on Facebook or MeWe or Parlor or one of those social media platforms, and I came across a meme on my screen, and it just really struck me that this is what we're doing on this show.
Okay, hold on. I'm replying to a comment here. So we got Rusty's in the group, Heath's in the group, Heath Harvey. Of course, my wife is. Hi, Gina. Miss Ann's in there. She says Merry Christmas, Miss Ann. Michael Payne. So we've already got a few people in here. Okay. So pick up where you just left off because I was sitting here paying
Well,
attention to comments.
share my screen there, and
All right,
this is what I say we're doing. I want to see if you thought this was appropriate.
Okay, so I'm sharing your screen. I'll read it. People don't want to hear this, but words not matching actions is called manipulation, and refusing to be held accountable for it is called gaslighting. Yeah, I would pretty much agree with that. Look, here's the truth of it, and you've heard me say this over and over and over. A lot of this stuff with the Cypress board, and we're talking about the police jury stuff, and you know, police jurors that are fine with raising gasoline taxes 23 cents a gallon. Well, you know, the problem is not really the police jurors. Honestly, the problem's not Doug Rimmer. The problem is not even the Cypress board and Robert Berry or on a national level our politicians. The problem is us, all of us collectively.
Absolutely. I mean, across the board, government nationally, government locally, it just does what it wants to do. But you and I having a discussion about a board and someone being appointed to that board, and I can't. I'm not going to say it was. I think it was off the record. You said they said, well, the reason that we appoint that person is because nobody else throws their name in the hat.
Bingo, ding, 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 ding. Well, I can't tell you how many of the Cypress meetings, Cypress District meetings I've been to this year, and even in spite of COVID, where I'm like the only person, there might be one other person in the whole room. And look, I'm the first person. What we're doing here on Bossier Watch and being able to provide information and videos of meetings and all that is a wonderful thing, you know, and everybody can't attend every meeting every time. But I'm just telling you what happens is people get used to seeing the videos and think they don't have to attend the meetings. I got news for you. Butts and seats make politicians and bureaucrats nervous, and it keeps them in line.
Yeah, it is up to the public to get involved, to go and listen and to ask questions. And even if they thump you down for asking a question, you got to stand your ground and you got to keep asking and you got to keep at it. And folks just have to make time to get involved. And, you know, and if your time is limited, get a partner and say, hey, you take one meeting, I'll take the next meeting. You take one meeting, I'll take the next meeting. Pick a subject, get involved. That is it. That's where we are losing.
Absolutely, and hat tip out to our good friend Barry Butler, who he's an airline pilot, and so he can't attend every meeting, but you know, when he's here on the ground and not, you know, jet setting across the world, he's going to police jury meetings and all that and starting to publish those live, and that's a big help too. And I'll tell you one thing, I'll actually give a little credit to the Bossier Parish Police Jury. They fixed their audio in their video feed from their meetings.
I had that in the notes for the show. I even commented. I was watching when it was live, and man, you could hear every word they were saying. It was crystal clear. I mean, bravo.
It's
Good
amazing.
job.
You know, when certain people bring that to their attention, it's amazing what can happen.
All you got to do is ask a question and say something.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's move on forward a little bit, and I'm kind of trying to monitor our comments here. What do we got next? And we got about 14, 15 people watching right now, by the way, too. So what's next?
Well, and to those folks watching, thank y'all. If you don't mind, share it on your page and try to get some more folks into the discussion. The more folks that we have involved and paying attention to these issues, the more educated they're becoming on the issues, and the more likelihood they are to become involved. So by all means, share it out. But trying to speed things up, we've got feedback. Y'all wanted us to kind of run through the issues a little faster. The last show, we threw out a question and we had some discussion. We had Royal Alexander talk to us a little bit about the Texas case was, you know, going at that time, and we know how that turned out. But Royal did a great job. But one of the other questions and subjects that we talked about was, why do churches need to be involved in politics? And why are they trying to control politics locally? And I'll say this, the question still stands. And we're not going to spend all night on that subject, but we're going to come back to it in the future, and we're going to delve deeper into it. And in fact, as a result of that conversation and that meeting, I mean, we've received some anonymous information. Before we kind of jump out there on that, we're going to do a little homework and a little research. But there is some anonymous information flowing in about, you know, politics and some local churches.
Yeah, apparently people want to share the information, but as we'll talk about maybe here in a few minutes, some people have to be careful because of their position and because of how politics and religion are sometimes used. some folks, for good reason, legitimate reasons, are very wary of sharing information. And that's why, yeah, if somebody's got some information they want to share anonymously, go to ProtonMail.com, make a completely anonymous random email address with ProtonMail. That is actually secure. Send an email from that account to us at BossierWatch@ProtonMail.com. Don't put on any identifying information in there. Don't put your name in there, no anything. And feel free to share whatever information you may have. We'll be glad to look into it. And if there's something to it or something that, you know, we feel needs to be shared to the public, then absolutely we will talk about it at some point.
Yeah, and now we did get, you know, like you said, some anonymous information, but in addition to that, we got some criticism.
Yes,
imagine that.
By by a particular person in the area who is very vocal, which is a good thing. You know, I'm all about people speaking their mind. So shall we go ahead and roll the video?
Yeah, and well, I think before we roll the video, I mean, you know, maybe we should say, I mean, look, I think the guy's heart is in the right place. I mean, I like him. I you know, I like the fact that he I think he's a regular guy just taking initiative on his own to get involved. I mean, he feels moved to get involved and to do something, and you can't say nothing bad about that. But
well,
anyway.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I know Jason, and you know, it's not like we go to dinner or go hunting or go fishing together, buddies, but we have chatted, and he and I see eye to eye on a lot of things, and then there are some things that, of course, we don't see eye to eye to. So let's go ahead and let me see if I can get this queued up. Let's see. Yep, there we go. All right, so we're going to play about 2 minutes of this video, folks, so just have a listen.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I want to talk about a couple things real quick. First off, if you live in Bossier Parish, go check out Duke Lowrie and Rex Moncrief. They got a little show on Facebook that they've been running called Bossier Watch. Go check it out. Look it up, Bossier Watch. They just discuss different topics, different politics, and policies, procedures right here in Bossier Parish that are worth tuning into. If you're someone that's trying to get plugged in and just kind of learn a little more about what's going on and listen to a couple guys that are tuned in and you know, have some insight, some knowledge of local things, these are two guys that's worth watching. Check it out, Bossier Watch. It's worth the effort to look them up and follow the show. I've got my Facebook turned on to their notifications, so whenever their show comes on, I usually try to tune in and check it out. Now, these are two men that I respect and appreciate, and you know, respect their stance on things. We don't always feel the same way. We don't always feel, you know, see things the same way. And one thing that I see a little different than what they do is religion and politics mixing. On one of the shows the other day, they was talking about, should the churches be involved in politics? And they made it known that, in their opinion, the way they see things, that you shouldn't mix religion and politics. I think they were showing some kind of displeasure in certain high up church members that were influenced in the political realm in a negative way, and to them, you know, religion and politics should not mix. This is how I feel about it. I do not understand, as a conservative American, how you possibly could be involved in politics and not mix religion and belief in the church in it.
All right, so I'm going to stop it right there. And so first, let me say this. Jason, thanks for the props in your video. And I'll say this about Jason. He absolutely speaks his mind, and unbeknownst to a lot of people, he's had a video with over 1 million views. Legit. Now, unfortunately, Facebook did away with his old account, and that's a whole other story. But I actually saw the video and saw the video numbers. And that's what rose him to popularity. And he had a lot of videos that were in the tens of thousands of views. So obviously what he says does connect with a lot of people. But with that said, I think we need to kind of correct the record, or maybe a little bit of the misunderstanding on Jason's part about how we separately feel about religion and politics. Do you want to lead off?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that, and in fact, in the last show, I think I read a quote, that was from George Washington, and I'll read it again. Morality is necessary for Republican government. Religion is necessary for morality. Therefore, religion is necessary for Republican government. Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, Washington wrote in his farewell address, if a church is to control politics, one's measure is not of one's deeds or his morality, but what church he in. I went. Whoop! I'm putting words in. I'm putting words in the Washington's mouth.
George is rolling over in his grave.
Yeah, he should be rolling over. Forgive me for that, Washington. Anyway, the thing is just I think it's incumbent upon the church to work to ensure that we have a moralistic society, and that we will have people with morals who will seek public office. That's the role. It's not the role for a church, a specific religion, to go and try to take over and control political bodies or the political body. And, if history it serves me correctly, if I remember, that might be the same thing that happened in Europe that caused a lot of people to come over to America.
Well, yeah, I would argue that it was one of the main things. And so let me give everybody my viewpoint. The separation of church and state doctrine, which was in a letter, if I remember correctly, from Jefferson, was it was in the Barbary Pirates deal. And he was trying to appease, was it France or whoever? Anyway, so there was a separation of church and state doctrine established in that particular letter, and that's been used as a crutch by people of all political spectrums to say that there should be no religion in government. Well, that's a bunch of crap. First of all, they open almost every congressional session with a prayer. They open up the Supreme Court with a prayer. Give me a break. So to say that there should be no religion in government is absolutely 180 degrees opposite from the way I feel. But there absolutely should not be a state religion. So in other words, keeping it real simple, the federal government shouldn't be able to come in and say being a Baptist is the official state religion, and that's what the federal government is going to promote, or being a Methodist or Presbyterian or Catholic or Muslim, whatever, pick your religion, okay? I'm 100% opposed to that, of course, and I would think most people probably agree with me on that. Here's the thing, though. On the flip side to that, the church shouldn't be weaponized in the political spectrum. And the federal government shouldn't be weaponizing against churches. But more specifically, and what you and I are referring to, and we're being kind of couching our words a little bit, but most people know what we're talking about, that unfortunately, at least as it relates to Bossier politics, and I'm sure in other areas, some of the churches have been weaponized. There's just no way around that. And that is what I know that I'm against, and I think you feel pretty close to that.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like that if I don't go to a particular church, then I am less of a Christian than the next. And I would pose this question. I wonder if some churches will take responsibility if excessive taxes are placed on the public.
Yeah, I mean, what are they going to do? Here, I would even argue, and kind of deviating or off on a tangent from that, I would argue, if God called me to be a preacher, I mean, God forbid that actually happened, because I would just preach about fishing or guns or whatever. But in all seriousness, if I were called to be a pastor, I'm not so sure that I would want to be tax exempt, because that literally does handcuff you at the pulpit. But if you're not worried about being tax exempt, because the fact is a lot of churches generate a lot of money, and a lot of churches do a lot of good with that money as well. But the fact is, if you're not handcuffed by that, you can say what you want to from the pulpit within reason, and as a matter of fact, even beyond normal reason, because churches have a special place in society and as well, of course, in the history of our government. So I would argue that maybe we need to rethink. We're living in one of the areas with more churches per capita than most other places in the U.S. And unfortunately, there's been a lot of mixing of politics and churches around here. And just again, to reiterate to Jason, that's the thing that I know I have opposition to. Duke, again, I'm pretty sure you feel the same way. And we know that there are a whole lot of other people that feel the same way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember the last time that I ran for state representative, and Channel 3 interviewed me. I think it was Channel 3 or one of the reporters. He interviewed and asked a question. And I said, they said, why do you think you lost? And I said, because I was unwilling to use my faith to get elected.
Yeah.
That's not the case with the majority of politicians.
You're correct. It just simply isn't. So, okay. Moving on. Yes, let's move right along. What's next on our list here? So I'm going to switch us back over to that cute screen.
Well, we're kind of getting back to taxes and government and all that a little bit. We kind of gave credit. That was where I had the notes in there to give credit to the Bossier Parish Police Jury for the improved audio. Good job again, guys. I'm telling you, good job. But Cypress.
Yes.
Your favorite subject.
Yes, and again, I could spend literally all night. So just watch the clock and just stop me when your eyes start to glaze over a little bit. So they recently had their monthly meeting, which they had rescheduled, and I think maybe a couple of the district board members had COVID or whatever anyway, and hope that they got well over that. But they recently finally had their budget meeting, and unfortunately, I actually had to do some domesticated stuff with the family, and so it's one of the few meetings with the Cypress District I have not been able to make in the past year. But it was their budget meeting, and so of course I reached out to you to send you up to watch the circus. And let me preface this before you describe it. I've told you this over and over, and a lot of people, it is hard for people to understand why we're all upset until you actually go to one of these dog and pony shows. I mean, there's no dog and pony shows, circus, whatever you want to call it. So, Duke, why don't you give us a quick summary of your experience at this budget meeting?
Well, as the chosen cohort to represent your interests, I guess you could say, I volunteered and went. And, well, boy, what an eye-opener. I went with an open mind. I didn't even have I had no intentions of even asking a question, saying anything. I was just going to go listen and, be present. That was my intent. And so I go, they have the agenda. They were real nice, had the agenda printed out first. I went to set the little recorder down on the table, and I almost got my hand or head bit off. Like, oh no, I broke the barrier to set it on the table, so I ended up having to sit it on the floor. So that was my first mistake.
Well, pause right there. Did they have the chairs spaced out in front of the table again?
Oh, absolutely. So
and they got to be like halfway across the room by now. They literally keep moving these chairs further and further out. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so anyway, I took the seat on the front row. Everybody already took the ones on the back row, so I guess that was an omen to begin with. But a few things struck me, and this is the thing. I only asked one question, and there was some deliberation about public comment. Mm-hmm. And the thing was you had to give public comment, or if you had a question, you had to ask the question before the subject matter that was going to be discussed is discussed, and you couldn't ask a question afterwards. So I said,
wait. Say that again. Say that one more time.
Okay. So they're going to talk about the budget. They're going to talk about amending the previous year's budget, and then they're going to talk about the adoption of the 2021 budget.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, if you're a citizen or a taxpayer and you have a question on either, or, you know, you have to ask that question and know the question you're going to ask before they have discussion on those topics.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may remember the gentleman's name. I think he's the auditor that.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh crap! If you hadn't asked me.
Yeah,
Moorhead.
he gives a
Anyway.
report,
Right.
and he specifically says y'all need to have public comment so that there can't be no questions afterwards. Well, that kind of struck me odd. So anyway, they kind of get to going, and a lot of folks were asking questions, and it was sitting there and it was just eating at me. And I said, so I raised my hand. I said, look, I said, I want to understand, make sure I understand this correctly. I have to know the question I'm going to ask you before I hear the information. I said, yeah. I said, okay, so if y'all decide you're going to, in this meeting, add to the budget building a Ferris wheel, I had to somehow or another know that before you had this meeting, right? And then that attorney, you know her name, I guess. Is the lady you deal with all the time.
Alex,
She's
the
like,
attorney.
She says, I don't think I understand your question. And I could tell right then it really didn't matter. So I just kind of left it alone. Well, that was the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing was a comment that one of the board members ended up making, where and a question was asked about the expenditures for legal fees and with the park being closed. And he basically said, well, all the legal fees are the fault of the landowners. It's the public's
really?
fault.
Yes.
It's the public's fault. And that just went all over me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll stop talking and take a break and let you just kind of jump. I'm getting mad thinking about it.
Well, yeah, and so, of course, I put up the little disclaimer just to remind everybody, if you go to a Cypress District meeting, you cannot ask a question. They're just simply not allowed, and they tell you that over and over and over. Travis Moorhart, that's the CPA and auditor's name. Sorry, took me a second. And so what I've got on the screen now is I'm showing their proposed budget, okay? And, you know, they put these out, and I'm not saying they're padding or finagling the numbers, but these numbers never end up being what their actual, what their actual numbers are. So I want to show on the screen here, give me just a second. So this is their budget, okay? And notice their revenues, they've just got a few lines here for revenues and all that. And then you go down to legal fees down here. They've got their legal fees listed, which they've got budgeted at $250,000, and I think their actual is $202,000 that they're showing in their proposed budget. But let me go over here. So give me a second here. Let me switch this window, Google Chrome. So these are their actual P&Ls. So I did a public information request, and they run QuickBooks, so they went into QuickBooks, exported out their actual P&Ls, profit and loss statements for each month, and sent them to me. And these are accurate as of December the 4th or 5th, whenever they sent me the last set. So of course they don't include December yet. You'll see a bunch of zeros on December because, well, you know, December's not over yet. Anyway, and notice you see a lot of red. Of course, red is typically not good, especially in this very bottom line down here. I'll see if I can kind of highlight that. Because you see, like, this is for January. They had a $659,000 positive income, net income down here. But as you move on through the year, because that's when they collect most of the ad valorem tax. But when you move on through the year, you can start to see some red. Now, right now, they're sitting, let's see if I can make this resize. They're sitting at a positive $352,000 for the year, But here's the catch. Again, the expenses for November and the income for December are not in yet. They haven't made their $270,000, $280,000 loan payment yet. Okay? For the $3 million loan. So that's not in these numbers yet. As of December the 4th, they have not made that payment nor plugged it into their financials yet. And if we look up here in insurance claims, they had a $292,000 and a $53,000, so about a $240,000 windfall income of some sort of insurance claims. You pull those two out, they're in the red or close to it, especially when you add in expenses for December, and certainly if you add in the loan payment that I'm assuming they've got to make. I guess maybe the bank would default and go seize the park and then we'd be done with all this. So these are the real numbers. And I'm going to scroll through these. I want you to notice the difference in these numbers and the budget. Budgets are fine for planning, but by design, budgets are projections. They're estimates. These are the real numbers. These are available. I have them available publicly. You can go to Bossier Watch and I've got them all posted there. Now, one other thing. They sent me these numbers, the first set of numbers on November the 5th. Okay? So at the end of November, I requested the updated November numbers. Well, there was a problem. When they sent me the updated November numbers on December the 4th, of course, they included November and then the yearly totals column. Well, when I started plugging the numbers in, there's a $1,500, almost $1,600 discrepancy, which doesn't sound like much in the scheme of a couple of $1,000,000, but I want it accurate. So I sent an email over to Alex the lawyer, our favorite lawyer, and instead of and I was pretty clear, and I sent it to Shelley first. Of course, all that gets routed through the lawyer's office. Instead of just solving the problem, she wants to bicker back and forth while the clock's running, which means they're getting paid more, and they're already up to $220,000 this year in legal fees and climbing. And so we've been going back and forth. I finally created a dadgum screen recording video to show her, since she's an attorney and not a CPA and apparently doesn't have at least 7th or 8th grade math behind her, to show her what I need, which I'll be posting on Bossier Watch probably tomorrow so everybody can kind of view it too. So anyway, the point is, it's the normal shenanigans. And this is why nobody trusts the Cypress District. Because A, they pull the stuff like you're talking about. You're supposed to comment on something before they even present the information. How are you supposed to do that? And number two, when you try to get accurate information, the real dollars and cents, they want to hem, haw, and drag their feet and run it through the lawyer's office at every twist and turn. And it just sets a bad precedent, and until they fix that problem, we're not getting off the rear ends of the Cypress District. All right, so my rant's over. Sorry.
Oh, no, I thought, which I think you mentioned the discrepancy in the numbers, and had I wanted to ask that question at the meeting, I would have had to have known to ask that before I went there.
Right. Yeah. It's just absolutely nuts. So I don't know what to say to everybody except the shenanigans are still going on at the Cypress District. One other tidbit too, we do know that the Attorney General has indicated, or his office has indicated, that they do plan to appeal the recent court decision or whatever in the Attorney General versus Robert Berry, executive director suit. We'll see once that actually happens, but at least to the AG's office and to Jeff Landry's credit, they at least indicated they plan to appeal that or take some more action. So we'll see where it goes.
Hey, law dog. Law don't go around here.
Yeah, exactly. All right. What's next on our list? Because I can keep talking about the Cypress District all night.
Well, we were going to touch on the sewer district a little bit because, or the gas tax in the sewer district, but just I think that we're going to have to we already said that we're going to get Barry on and we're going to really do a deep dive into the sewer district and the rate increases. The folks in the parish that are getting those rate increases, there's a lot of information that they probably ought to know about that. I would think that they probably ought to be expecting increases in the future again. But again, we're not as deep into that as say Barry Butler is, who really has been digging on that.
Yeah, he
And the
has. And
gas, yeah, the gas tax. You and I are on top of that, and yeah,
there's a lot coming up on the gas tax because, there's no doubt about it. Certain groups are trying to set the stage to, claim that true conservatives are going to be for raising the gas tax and all that. Meanwhile, as we all know, we basically get to sit here and watch the poorest roads in the nation. I mean, it's simple, folks. Drive across the Texas line. I hate pulling my boat down most of the roads in Louisiana. We had the announcement they're supposed to start construction on fixing I-20 through Bossier. Hopefully the state will be able to come up with their portion and get through that scenario, but we'll see, with the COVID deal and the financial shape and the revenues down, and that's probably going to be one of the excuses for increasing the gas taxes. Well, oh my goodness, our tax revenues are down anyway because of the COVID deal, and we've got to do something, and then they'll end up wasting the money on something, or it'll go south I-10, so we'll see.
and once you pass these taxes, you're not going to get rid of them. They'll be on top of you forever, and it will go down as our conservative leaders as being the ones that put it on you.
Absolutely, and we're going to stay on top of them and let everybody know who's voting on what. So.
Yeah, and so for everybody that's watching and going into the future, we intend to, with these next shows, and again, the gas tax, sewer tax, or the sewer district, multiple different topics. We're going to publish a schedule as well as with the topics and dates that we're going to have those shows dedicated, and and try to do a little bit more work on being able to inform you of when we'll be going live and the subject matter that we'll be discussing that night.
Yeah, that's absolutely the plan, and I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up, and I'll close with this on the sewer district tax. That, let me just tease it out there. It involves bonds, loans on those bonds, and lots of interest. Could be interesting.
You live in Benton, you could ultimately be in the sewer district. Some of you already are. You're in Halton, you're in the sewer district. I mean, don't think that you can't be affected by this. I mean, and everybody that would see this video potentially can be affected by the gas tax. Heck, you ain't even got to live in this state. You can be in Texas and you're going to be affected by this gas tax.
Yeah, so we've got income down for most people, or a lot of people, taxes and fees going up. Never ends.
Never ends.
See y'all next show. Talk to you later, Duke.
Go Tigers. Bye.